Hi there. Let's see how sales can be done using ERPNext. The first and foremost thing that we need to look into is how the sales module is set up. So we have to start with the settings section of sales. So for that, you need to go to the selling module and go into the selling settings. Here you can see various settings that will aid you with your sales process. The first and foremost is like how you want to record your customers within your system. By default, it shows as customer name, wherein each customer ID will be their own name. Instead, if you want an ID to be associated with a customer, change that to a naming series. And this naming series can be set from the document naming settings to the way you want this ID to be represented. Okay, and if you want to have the default customer group, you can just set it over here. And if you want to do your transactions within a default territory, you can set this same over here as well. These two columns are custom fields, so you can ignore it for the now. And if all of your sales want to follow a default pricing, you can set that up here as well. So I have set it up as the standard selling as the selling price. These transaction settings let us follow how the sales flow has to be within the system. The first thing is like if a sales order is mandatory for an invoice or a delivery note, you can set this as yes. Setting no here means that you can directly get into the sales module and create a delivery note or a sales invoice. If it is set as S, this means that without creating a sales order, you won't be allowed to create a delivery note or an invoice. The same applies to the second section as well, wherein it mentions that a delivery note is required for sales invoice creation. So if it is S, without creating a delivery note, you won't be allowed to create a sales invoice. Okay, so what this section means is like it's specifically associated with blanket order, wherein you have a quantity set in the blanket order, what percentage extra you can order from the blanket order. Okay, so you can make use of these sections also for various settings. Now let's take a look at how a sales flow happens within ERPNext. This is how a sales flow happens. It all starts with a quotation, and a sales order is created against a quotation. You can ignore quotation if you don't need that. You can start right away from a sales order. If there is an advance payment, you can receive that against the sales order. You can either create a delivery note or a sales invoice against a sales order, or you can first create sales order, create invoice, then deliver against the invoice, and then receive payment against the invoice. So there are multiple combinations that's possible in this case, depending upon the setting that we covered earlier. Order is created within ERPNext. So to go to the selling module, click sales order. So by default, you can see the list of sales orders that has already been created within the system. In order to create a new sales order, click add sales order. So the first step is to select the customer to whom the sales order is being created, the delivery date, the due date of delivery of these products within the sales order, and the next step is to select the item that is going to be part of the sales order. So by default the default rate will be populated. If you need to change the quantity, you can change the quantity over here. So if the tax is configured for this particular item and the customer, the default taxes will be auto populated. Okay, the next step is to just save the sales order and submit it. Okay, now once you have the sales order, if you want to either deliver against the sales order or invoice against the sales order. So if you want to do an invoicing, you can do it from create sales invoice, or you can do it from here also. Go to the connections, click this plus so that you can do the invoicing. So I will follow it from here now. Create sales invoice. Okay, so all the fields will be auto populated. The taxes will also be carried over from the sales order into sales invoice. Okay, you can just make sure all the fields are there. Just save it. Okay, and then submit it. Now you have the invoice ready and you want to dispatch these items to the customer so that the inventory in your warehouse is also updated. What you can do is like you can create delivery from here. Okay, and it will check from which warehouse this item is going out. So I'm just selecting as a finished goods go down. Okay, then save it and then submit it so that the item is updated and the delivery note is completed. If you don't have these quantities stock in your warehouse, the system won't allow you. So let's try it out. Yes, the stock is available. So the system allowed us to go ahead and submit the delivery note. Now when the customer makes a payment, normally how it is done is like you can do it against the invoice. So you can go to selling and the sales invoice. Okay, and the current invoice that we created recently has the status as unpaid. So select the invoice, click create payment. Okay, so this is a receipt payment and there are various modes of payments. I'm just making it as cash. By default the amount is here. Okay, save it and submit it. So if you go to the sales invoice, you can see that the status is paid. That's how a sales process, starting from sales order, delivery or invoice or delivery, and then payment is complete. Thank you.